as actors. And then I watched one of his films around that time, God's Ears. It's an amazing film, so I knew the kind of films that Michael was making. And then he came to me, I was living in LA, and he came and said, pitched this idea about a lesbian film. And, you know, your first thoughts is like, okay, what's he getting at? Like, what's he got in mind? And then, but, you know, I trusted Michael, and I knew what kind of vision he'd have, and then he spoke to me more about it, and it was a great process. You know, once I was on board, we actually like sat together and found Anya, the other actress. So it was like really nice to be kind of a part of that process with him a little bit, and yeah.
What really strikes me about this film is that it explores so many different, kind of like what you were saying, so many different aspects of what love is. You're talking about motherhood and fatherhood and romantic love between men and women and men and women and women. And, what were some of the challenges being able to, like, really sort of articulate all those, like, that huge spectrum on the screen?
Well, I mean, it's certainly difficult because it's such a big subject and everybody's got different views on it. But for me, I mean, I still find myself dealing with why love comes and why it leaves and why does it change. And I mean, I wake up and go to sleep thinking about that sometimes. And since I make films, I figured the best thing I could do is try to maybe deal with it a little bit through filmmaking. In fact, Kacey and I did another film right after this called Enchanting Immortals that's about, again, it's about why people fall in love and why they fall out of it. And I know I'll stop making movies about it eventually. But again, the challenge with this is, I don't know what the challenge really is. You know, I mean, we're not trying to answer all the questions, but we're trying to just sort of maybe stimulate some ideas and make it entertaining in the process. And
for me, it's like we're all like, we all have our human struggles anyway. So it was just, I think that's what we were sort of trying to convey.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, in a way, it's most of the story should be able to be told as if we transferred the sex from one to another. You know, whether it's two men or a man to woman, or whatever. Ultimately, that's what it should be about. But then the little details were fun to sort of combine all the different, the ideas.
I have more stuff, but I know we only have so much time, and I want to open it up to you guys. Oh yes, please.
All right. So, what was your favorite? Like, who was your favorite character and why?
Who was your favorite character and why?
I love Grandma. Yeah, who's actually Michael's real grandma. So yeah. And she doesn't like. It's so funny. I don't know you.
No, don't hear what you're saying.
So she doesn't like learn the lines or anything. I'm sure you could tell. It comes from her own truth. We kind of sit her down, or we put her in the middle of us all, and we just start firing like improvisation or Michael's script around her, and we capture her natural reactions to it. So that
it was like where she says, I don't know what to do now, because she literally got stuck and just didn't know what to do. And that whole thing at the end with her and her grandson, which is played by our friend who's actually British as well. He just was hiding his accent. I just said to him, all right, sit down here. I want you to just start talking to her, and eventually just start talking about being gay, and she's just going to go with it. She had no idea he was gay or not, so that whole response that she was having to him was completely her. And when she's sitting there contemplating and going, well, it's not about the father thing. That was just her, And so I would shoot her first, have him do stuff off camera, and then I would write his lines down and then film him afterwards. So we knew what this.
You can imagine we were dying laughing when she's going around the corner like, lesbians don't drink tea.
Yeah, she's just mumbling that stuff,
It was dying laughing. It was funny.
My favorite scene is the one with at the dinner table, with the parents.
Oh, that was a crazy day.
What was that like, filming?
It was I see your hand, so I'm going to get you next. I saw it was very tough because it was like the one time we had all these people, and that's the one part of the movie that literally was not any dialogue was written. I mean, everything was written and somewhat improvised in different scenes, but that one I just said, this is your goal, this is your objective, and so we just had people yakking and talking, and it was interesting too, the other character that plays Raph's boyfriend or date, his name was Gene Franco, And he, he really was gay. And Raph, who was playing this character that was struggling, I remember even as an actor, he was struggling with, can I do this? Can I carry off being gay? Can I, And once he hung out with that guy for the day, he was, I want to keep doing this. Let's do more. Let's do more scenes where I'm gay. That was really funny.
But you didn't put any in.
That's true. Well, we were running out. You have no idea this, but we shot this whole movie in 8 days.
Wow.
Yeah. It was awesome. Yes, I'm sorry. I know you're screaming.
Can I ask a question? When is it going to be out on DVD or out in the theaters?
Well, I'll tell you, actually on the 25th, we're going to do a limited rental thing online. So in a few days, it's going to be available online just as an experiment. We're all messing around with this new media stuff, so we're giving it a try. And then we're going to pull it off and then make it for sale on DVD and Blu-ray probably in the next couple of months. We're still hunting a distributor down, so we'll see.
You shot it in 8 days on a micro budget?
Oh, yeah, you have no idea how micro it was. I mean... How much money did you make, Kacey? We fed people, though.
Yeah, we had a nice trip to San Francisco, and we had fun. And I got to raid Michael's wardrobe. They were all Michael's clothes that was wearing.
Awesome.
Well, she didn't bring clothes. She was just taking stuff out.
Like, what you got in here? Michael and Ralph.
So everyone go online and rent it so they can make some money.
Yeah. How much did it cost? All right, don't tell anybody. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it doesn't matter now, right? We made the whole thing with post-production and everything, $8,000. Yeah. Yeah, I sold my grandmother to do it. But, I get her back for one sequel.
Do you have plans for a part 2, baby?
The funny you ask that because this is the only time that this has ever happened. Anya, who plays the blonde, and she actually had a baby after we did the movie. So that was all I needed as an indie filmmaker. We had a baby, we're doing a sequel. And so yes, we actually are. It's tentatively titled Marmalade Skies, and we're going to actually possibly, if all goes well, shoot it right in November.
Wow,
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be like a sequel with exactly the same characters, some more characters added. We're going to film it like a standalone film so people can watch it as a standalone movie, but yeah, it'll be a sequel. So
we all want to explore a little bit.
We feel like we can, now it's interesting watching a film and then you kind of feel you've done the groundwork on a character and you're like, oh, I could go back into that, and you actually get to know the character even more from doing it and watching it, and then so it's going to be really interesting, diving back into that, and yeah.
That's so exciting. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, in the back.
When should we be expecting that?
Well, shorter than the time it makes to do this, I hope. I mean, when we talk about you probably saw the credits. It was a challenge just to make them go by in less, and take more, 10 seconds to run by. I mean, but when you saw whoever you saw on screen, there was only about 2 or 3 other people on the set. I mean, that's how tiny. I was shooting, whenever I wasn't on camera, I was holding the camera. I had a cinematographer, but I would just operate a second camera. My mom was working on the film. My grandmother was doing catering when she wasn't on camera. I mean, it was just the guy that plays the brother, Alex Ballar. He was running around doing production stuff during the whole time. So
I was from a family of amazing women, I have to say, who all pull together when we're doing these kind of really micro budget things. So I don't know if it's the fact that you've got a family of amazing women that made you want to do this love story of 2 women.
Oh, I definitely love writing women roles for some reason or another, So, and I put myself in it only because I couldn't afford another actor. So that's why I'm not writing it's for me. I literally was going, I can't afford to put somebody up. So I said, I'll do it.
You played the awkward man very well.
Oh, good.
Go for it.
That was hard.
Why was it so important to you to play this male that went from being in love with a woman to loving these 2 women that wanted to create something so beautiful?
I had some stuff in my life that made me want to manifest that into a film. In other words, again, it's back to that thing about what it's like. Can you love one person? Can you love 2? And then what happens when you can? How I mean, I know it sounds a little nebulous, but the fact is, I love this idea of truly all these red herrings going on too. You have these 2 women that are in love, and this guy who's in love with one, and then you're like, wait, is he fall in love with the Charlie character? Is he gonna fall in love with the Serena character? And then or is one of them gonna fall for him? But then in the end, each one of them helps the other to get through something, And
All 3 of you had an equality that was really beautiful.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you for saying that. Here's one last little tidbit about this production. We shot this thing, and again, like in 8 days. By day 4, I totally was rewriting the entire ending of the movie because we lost one of the actors, and then we had to start flipping it around. So everything up to the point where I'm like kind of backing out of the sperm donating was all changed. We were writing it as we went.
It was a different movie when we got the script, and then by 8 days later, we decided a whole new...
Yeah, her ex-girlfriend, the stripper, showed up for a big part of the ending of the movie, and she's the one that bailed on us, so yeah, she was gone.
Erin, the silly stripper, was meant to be in the movie, and she was a silly stripper, she didn't turn up.
I mean, that scene where he comes into the where John comes into the clothing store to get me was like written the day before. We just walked up to a clothing store and said, can we film in here? And they were like, sure, and then that whole thing about the cowboy and the lesbian, that was him making it up as we were shooting it. Well, I got a great idea, let's say this, But, yeah.
So how much of it was improvised, would you say?
I'd say, I want to say like 30% of the whole movie was probably improvised, just because the one thing that's important to me is that when an actor gets in, that I want them to feel comfortable. I don't want them necessarily, if I wrote something that absolutely doesn't feel right for them to say, let them go, It's like when she was sitting by the window talking about her father, I was like, tap into your own stuff there and say what feels right to you,
Yes, in the back.
I was just curious more about what the ending was like originally, and then how that evolution changed, and like sort of what maybe the ultimate message that you were left with at the ending with this ending versus like maybe some of the other endings that would have happened, before
right. Okay, how the original ending. Actually, the overall idea was always the same. There were a couple radical things we were going to push at one point, but then we thought it might have detracted from the whole idea of the film. At one point, we actually had it. Remember where you and I were actually going to. She's like, do I remember this? We were going to do a scene where we were going to imply that you and I actually sleep together at one point.
Well, yeah.
And then we were like, it was kind of interesting in thought, and then we sort of changed it. And that was during production. I
think we realised as we went along as well, we didn't want to devalue
their relationship,
our love in any way. We didn't want to undermine that. And you think that actually when you read the synopsis for this film, I feel like it can be misleading because lesbian community might read that and think, the man's going to come along and someone's going to run off with the man, and we really didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
We just wanted to portray how real their love was. So.
But we did have a scene where she brings the ex-girlfriend in, the stripper, to try to coax me out of my donating specimen, at one point. And it just flips me out, and I just take off, and then I stumbled on the park, and then I call them up, and they show up. But this thing about me leaving and go, so it was really difficult because when you're making these little films, you can't just keep coming back and pulling it together. So there's a scene right towards the end, if you remember, where they're sitting down at a table and the phone rings, and then it's me calling saying, "Hey, I'm back in town." That was actually, and then they're kind of looking up as they're hearing the comment. They were actually sitting there getting ready to shoot a scene, looking at me as I was talking to them. It was for a totally different scene, and I just editorially just took it and made it look like they were listening to a phone machine.
Wow.
He's telling us to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Okay, one last one. Go for it.
Yeah, you were just saying it took 8 days.
Yeah.
The movie, that's awesome. How long did it, in the world of the movie, how long was it?
I think the idea was that when I got there, it was a week. More or less a week or so, because I was going to be there, and I was like reading about the process. Well, we go, it's 3 days, do this, you time this. So, and then once I leave, that's within the week. And then when I'm gone, it's implied that it's probably another week or so while they're sitting around. We kind of again, it's like, what are we going to get away with? You have to sort of let it trail in some cases.
Yeah, and then in between, it's crazy as well. I was painting those pictures in between, really quick, doing all that stuff,
Yeah, she painted those.
Just literally within
And we're going to sell them on eBay to raise money for the sequel. So,
all right, so buy the paintings, rent the movie next week. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks you guys.